So an ambient zone is essentially a volume space that's going to block out sounds in different rooms. So let's try to lower that volume. Don't know how good it's going to do, but so let's go and show you how to make a ambient zone. First, you're going to need your builder brush. I already have mine set down here, and it's already to the size that I want of the room. So I'm going to lift my builder brush into the room. Doesn't need to be perfect. And actually, I really would want it to be a little bit short just so I can grab it later and select it. So I'm going to go and hit this. I'm going to go here to the Add Volume button. Now I'm going to right-click it. And lots of different volumes, but the one we are looking for is the reverb volume. So I'm going to click that. Once you click it, it's automatically going to add it. You can move your builder brush away, and it makes this little yellow box. Now what this is essentially doing is it's saying, here's a room, and here, I better lift this up just to make sure it's in it. Here's a room, and here, this room has a wall. If there was a door here, and there was a sound inside, you would barely be able to hear that sound. Now, I'm gonna, just like everything else in the builder brush, I'm gonna hit F4 to check its properties. And here you go, the reverb volume properties. Now, apply reverb. Reverb is essentially any echo you're gonna get from any walls of the room. You can click that, and you can make it different types of room. If you have a specific type of room, it's probably gonna be covered here. I'm just going to leave it default, it's not that important. And the volume and fade time of the reverb is self-explanatory, how loud that reverb is going to be, and how long it's going to be until that reverb fades away. What I'm really interested in is these things, the ambient zone settings. Now, it's a little interesting the way it works. You have 8 different types of properties here, and each one goes into 2 different groups. You have the exterior group and the interior group. Exterior group is how does sound outside of your ambient zone sound inside the ambient zone. So while you're in the room, what do sounds outside the room sound like? Now the interiors are how does the sound inside the room sound like when you're outside the room. It's a little counterintuitive, but it's very easy to master and understand. And once again, the sounds that we have the volume. So what's going to be the volume change when you enter or exit the room? The time is how long it's going to take for that change to occur. LPF is that muffling sound I've been mentioning. LPF time is just how long it takes to get to that muffle. And it's the same thing for the interior down here. So the exterior volume is going to be that wind we've been hearing. And frankly, the wind at this point should be heard everywhere. So we're going to leave those stats exactly the way they are. But the radio sound should not be heard when you're in a different room. If we had a door here, you'd just hear it as a muffle. So the interior volume should be switched to something much lower. Let's put it at 0.25. I think that's a good time. And the time we'll make it 0.5. A half-second change is a perfectly reasonable change. And we'll even change the LPF. So we'll make it also 0.5. So right now, what happens is when you leave a room, the music from the room is going to get quieter and it's going to become more muffled. So one more note about reverb volume is that you got to make sure that since you made this using the builder brush, that after every time you make any changes in here, you have to build it. So you just build it real quick. Now one final note. Reverb brushes only work on things called ambient sounds, and at the moment our radio is not an ambient sound, but it's very easy to change that. You just need to open your content browser, find your sound, it's right here. And as you see, it says forever ambient. Now, mine's is already an ambient sound, but yours may not be since it's not always the default. It's very easy to change. All you need to do is simply right-click it, and it says Sound Classes Master, and you go under SFX, and you can find it under Ambient. As you see, there is a large selection of different types of sounds, and each of them pertain to a different type of thing. For example, if you label your type of sound as a game music, that means it'll always play at the same volume no matter where you are in a level. but you want ambient. Now, if you didn't have yours already as a default ambient, you may run into some problems. So the easiest way to solve this is change it to ambient, then to delete your sound and replace it. And it should have all the same stats, so it should be just fine. And it'll still work with the reverb volume perfectly. Now our final test is we have to build it. So make sure you build this in the PC, because building it from the editor may not work 100% of the time. So building it from the PC is the best solution. It's the only surefire way of getting a successful test. Okay. Now as you can already see, you can hear that wind that's been playing throughout the entire time. And you can't hear the radio because it's so far away. So let's walk a little closer. You can just barely hear the radio. And it's muffled too. You can't hear it quite so clearly. You can make up some of the static, but not really. But when you get closer, when you pass this line, you're going to enter that reverb volume. You're going to enter that ambient zone. And indeed, as soon as you enter it, it gets 100% crystal clear. And the closer you get to it, the louder it's going to get. And that's it. You've just added in your own sounds, you've edited in some ambient sounds, you've messed around with the sound cue editor. It's all really simple stuff, and it's really easy to use, and it adds so much more to your level. Well, thank you very much for this tutorial. I hope you learned something. Now go out there and make some music.